Welcome to part 6, fellers. We're gonna deal with this real quick. I have to tighten down the other end on the bottom. I'll show you that in a minute. But essentially, we're gonna take this plate off right here, and then this is gonna come up. There's 2 bolts that hold that in, or 3 actually, 3 bolts that hold that in. We're just gonna lift that up, put the fleece spacer in the middle. Comes with new O-rings, and then it comes with longer bolts, so we're just gonna sandwich that, and we gotta feed this underneath the PCV right there next to the turbo blanket. It's just gonna come straight up here, and then we're gonna use these holes right here. I believe it's these ones, this one and that one right there, to put the 2 brackets on there to hold onto it. And then coolant bypass will be done, and then pretty much all we gotta do is slam yonder clutch in, which is going to be super exciting. But first, let me show you, since last video, which for me was like this many minutes, that's what we did. I cleaned up all the metal shavings because it kind of drives me crazy having this thing all messy. But yeah, got that all bolted in. Looks pretty good. Got this fascia in here. You can see how it tucks way back there. And then we got this boot, which is the top boot. Just kind of slides on over. Yeah, on there. And there you go. So that's gonna be my super neat shifter. Yep. Anyway. Anyway, let's look at the bottom and see how horrendous my cut is. But you won't be able to see that because I'm not good at working on stuff, but I'm good at hiding stuff. So there you go. It actually worked out not terribly. You can see it's a little tight right here, but it's obviously, that's just the cardboard part. It's not cutting into anything. It's actually all really well in there. Cut a little bit too much right here, but I mean, my boots are booting, you know? It's about all you can ask for. So that's good and sealed up. I'm gonna have to pull these back off anyway, because once the transmission goes on there, I'm gonna have to fill it from the top, because I'm gonna do 7 quarts of Redline MTF in there. So I'll just fill it from the top, and then of course I gotta put the shift tower on and things like that. So, got the rear adapter plate on. I got the starter loosely bolted on. I just put all the bell housing bolts in there because I'm really good with losing stuff. I got my barring tool in here. It's what I'm going to use to hold the flywheel when I torque it down, because I'm working solo. And then what I was saying earlier is I have these 2 bolts for the bypass good. I just need to tighten up this connection real quick. Just give it a little squeak, and then it'll be done down here. And then I was gonna go over everything else because it was like raining and I was hurrying to get out of here. So I'll double check all these bolts, double check the 3 starter bolts. I guess I'll double check those, but I'm pretty sure I got those real good. And then just do the connector right there, and then we'll be pretty much done under here. So I'll bring you back when I get the thermostat housing tore apart, and then we'll see how it goes together. Well, here we go. It's clutch time. So I finished up the coolant bypass yesterday, went back underneath, tightened up all the bolts for the backing plate, and that lower fitting for the coolant bypass. So here's the clutch. One thing I felt the need to point out, I'm sure 99% of people know, but I've seen at least 6 or 7 YouTube videos about people putting in these dual disc clutches, and they pay absolutely no mind to the painted section. So because you have the flywheel, the floater plate, and then the pressure plate, they actually have to balance these. So when they paint it, it means put it all back together like this. And I've seen some where not a single one of these will line up. Like the flywheel will be painted here, floater plate into this pocket, and then over here is the pressure plate. So when you get a dual disc clutch and it's all painted up, just make sure you put all the painted lines back together. Otherwise you can induce vibrations and things like that. So this is the South Bend 3250 GK, I believe it is the kit. Comes with the hydraulics and everything. And as you can see, you got it's the quiet version. It's got the two little pucks right here, and the floater plate is keyed. And as you can see, you really can't put these together wrong. Like this will say pressure plate side. Sometimes it'll be stamped into the hub somewhere. Sometimes it'll be like just a little sticker. They just write it on there, which is actually pretty good because then the sticker doesn't disappear. So over here you have an organic facing, and then on this side you have ceramic facing, which I kind of explained that in the parts video, why I got decided to do some experimentation with the dual friction materials. All right, and then you get the floater plate, which really has, I mean, there's no wiggle in there. That's really nice. My Valair floater plate did not have that, and it sang. It sang a lot. You couldn't even hear the rumble of the engine at idle. You know, trying to get that with one hand. So I'll take it off there, and then you can see the other side, close to the flywheel, has the ceramic as well. So there's ceramic on both sides of the floater plate because it's thinner and it can't get rid of that heat, so it has less chance of heat soaking the floater plate, warping that, and then reducing your holding capacity. So then that sits down in there, and then on the flywheel side, yeah, it actually says flywheel side right there, and you can see it's back to the organic material. So what I'm gonna do right now is, I was leaf blowing near it, and I just got a whole mess of stuff on here. So I'm gonna clean these up really good. Well, that wasn't necessarily as hard as I thought it would be. But, I mean, it sets on there. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, or one person, two hands. But, there you go. So I got all those, some blue thread locker, and got them down to 105 foot-pounds. I just used my little barring tool here. Worked a treat for locking it down. So now all I gotta do is the actual hard part. Holding the, clean up the friction discs, throw the floater plate in, the other friction disc, the alignment tool, and then try to balance the massive pressure plate while I keep everything aligned somehow and get some bolts tightened in. But as I was doing that, a really nice man came and said, "Hey man, I got some truck parts for you." And then he scooted them under the truck for me. Best UPS driver ever. Oh my goodness, I'm getting bad at getting into that truck. All right, so let's drop tailgate. See what we got. Actually, we'll do it right here in the shade because it's about 95 degrees right now. All right, so I haven't even pulled all this out yet. So let's see, I've got 2 seat E-clips, and that is part number, one of those right there. Snap ring, pedal shaft. I'm not sure which one's, it's either that part number right there or that part number. But, all right, next we have a little clip right here. This goes on the end of the clutch shaft there, the clutch pivot shaft. Clip, master cylinder, push rod. Okay, so the P is the part number 4581512AA, and that's for that little clip. So which one is this then? P. So yeah, that is it. 6023879. That's for the 2 E-clips. I believe I bought 2 because I wasn't sure if they sell them individually. The website's not super clear about that. And then we have this. This is what goes through the slave cylinder to the clutch pedal, and that is part number 5201033-1AC. And then the piece de la resistance. That is a real neat clutch pedal, I'll tell you what. Let's see what the part number on that is. And these are all Mopar part numbers, so you should pretty easily be able to just go to your local dealership and feed them these as well. So that's 5200 9944 AC. And that is for the actual thing. that out of the way, and then I'll just do a little kind of rough putting it together. Alright, so here is the main pivot shaft. This one's actually pretty heavy in steel. This is what goes into the cast and embossment under your steering column. That part number is 5201 031 88 or 8AA. Sorry. And then there should be. Nope. Oh, these fell out. Okay, so these are the bushings, the pivot bushings. And I thought I got 2 of these. Okay, so they did put 2. I actually might be missing 2 of these then, because I'm pretty sure they go in both spots. No, they do not. Okay, good. So this is all you need. You only need 2 of them. They do sell them individually. I thought they were kits, and I got 2 kits. So the part number on that is 5201 0309AB. Alright, so now we got all the part numbers. Let's see how all this crud goes together. First, I'm just going to unpack everything. Oogly doogly. So this is not a complicated setup, really. I'm sure this isn't going to blow anyone's mind. So let me get this out of there. Alright, so when you're putting this in, it's going to be in this orientation here. Just put that right there. So this pin is going to go through the embossment in the top. Right there. But first, actually, goodness, I am terrible at this. I should have just unpacked everything, then started the video. Alright, so actually first, you're going to take these split collars and you're going to slide them in there. On both sides, one on each side. Like that. Alright, then you're going to take this pin and you're going to feed it through the cast boss in your truck. Then this is going to push in. Oh, that's a nice smooth fit. Weep. Just like that. Then these 2 E-clips are going to go on either side. I'd probably preload one just because it's going to be kind of tight once you get under there. See if I can do that by hand. Yep. Alright, so that goes there. Just like that. So that's going to keep it in. So once you get this one in, you're just going to put that on the other side. Then this is what actually goes through the master cylinder eyelet, whatever, the clutch cylinder eyelet. And then as you can see on this side, there's a hex cut out of it, and this has a hex. So this has to go from like the emergency brake side towards the center console, and that just pops in kind of loosely, and it'll go through. So you're going to feed your clutch receptacle through there, and then you're just going to kind of push it in. I'm not going to push it in all the way because it's kind of a pain to get back out, but essentially that's going to click in right there. And then this clip right here, you can see how it kind of locks itself together. So this is going to go, it's going to slip down over the back side of this once you get it in there. So that's going to lock everything together, and that's pretty much the entire clutch rundown. So that goes on that shaft, this one goes on this shaft, and then you got your clutch pedal. Okay, what can you guys see here? So all the way up in there is the boss that this goes into. Basically right there. And you guys can't see nothing. Let's see if I can. There you go. Dang, this phone's fancy. Alright, so you can see those 2 bosses right there. It literally just goes right up in there, just like so. So if I have that placed there, this is what I'm looking at. And that's not terrible. I feel like that's actually, that's enough room. Got that in there. So first of all, that does look a little bit close. What I'll probably do is this is 2.5 inches wide, and so what I'm more than likely gonna do is I'm just gonna measure this out for 2.5 inches and then cut a section off of here. And it's really nice because I can just use one of these lines right here to follow. I just would like a little bit more clearance than that, just in case I'm wearing boots or something like that. I don't want to slam on the brakes when I'm trying to shift, especially if, you know, doing race car stuff. So that actually didn't, I mean, it didn't really go in easy, I would say, but it went in. Let's see if you can see that there. Yeah, so that's the pin through. You have to come from that side in, because I didn't see that there's actually that little thin piece of plate right there. So you can't come from inboard out, unless you cut that out, but I don't know why you would. It's easy enough. So I got the E-clip up in there, and it's real nice and smooth. There's no real side-to-side shake. It's pretty stable, and it's just real buttery smooth right here. So now that I have a clutch swing, I'm gonna have to figure out the part that I did earlier. I might just have to kind of meet over to the side there. Sorry, the videography is just terrible, but yeah, so let's keep at it. And then this right here I found is a factory clutch switch that they bypass. It's still in the manual, or it's in the automatic harness, but they just bypass it. So I'm gonna pull this harness back a little bit and see if there is a bypass. But if not, and this is actually already wired in, then I might just be able to put my hydraulics in, click it in, and then not have to do any wiring for the neutral safety. That would be super sweet, but of course I can't do that for a while, so I'll see what that looks like when I get to that point. For now, I'm just excited to have this in here. I'm gonna cut the brake pedal back. I'll show you what that looks like, and eventually I will. Like I said, I want to do this to where you can never tell that it was an automatic. So I will be replacing this. I just don't have the part number because they show different part numbers on my Mopar parts, but the schematic shows the same. It's 2 different part numbers, but the same width. So I might have to actually call them up and find out what the 2.5 inch wide brake pad is, brake pedal pad, what part number that is, and just grab that. So for now, I'm gonna cut it down. I got this in here, and I'm gonna go back to putting the clutch together because it is like 7,000 degrees outside, and I'm sweating profusely. So I'll bring you guys back when I got a clutch put together, and after many expletives. Progress report. I realize I never showed you guys the final install of the fleece coolant bypass. Here it is. Those were actual nightmares to get in, just because my turb ski is so close. It has a large Allen bolt that holds it to the head, and then 2 smaller ones that hold it right there. And I actually had to cut down the short end of an Allen wrench to get in there and do like a 1/16 of a turn, like 1 flat at a time, to get that in there. And then this was actually pretty easy to put in. It's literally just take those 3 screws out, lift it up, set that in there. The thermostat has its own O-ring which seals the bottom, and then the fleece stand has an O-ring on the top which seals to that. So it was like literally no big deal. And then I just tightened that. I got the whole clutch in. Phew. So, oh my goodness, this is just inconvenient. All right. So I'm sure everyone has their own way of putting a clutch in. On these ones, it's actually kind of easy. I put the first plate in, or the flywheel, then I put the first friction disc, and then the floater plate, because it is keyed onto those pins right there. I was able to put the floater plate in, and that held the first disc in. And then I put the second one up, and they send it really good. This is like an overly tight tolerance alignment pin. So once you get that in through both discs, it actually held pretty good. I was able to put the pressure plate up, and then I just had this in there, And let's see how easy that still goes in. Yeah. So it's still good and aligned, but I was actually able to just put like a palm up right there to keep them aligned. So I just kept upward pressure, and then I started working the bolts down in a circle. I don't know if this is like a wives' tale, whatever, but I've heard of people breaking these fingers off by like all these finger springs by tightening a clutch down uneven, because it'll push down on one side and then these ones will be all raised up, and then they can actually break or become misaligned, whatever, if it starts grabbing on the clutch disc and then pulls it over to the side. And this is trying to shift. So I've always been aware, every time I've done a clutch, to make sure that I'm watching these springs and make sure they stay in plane with each other. You don't have some high ones over here and some super low ones over here. So I'll go all the way around just until it makes contact with the pressure plate stand and the flywheel, and then I'll do the cross bolts. I'll do here and then up there and then here and then there, and then I'll keep going around. And then of course once you're done, just run your finger along these, make sure none of these are sitting high, anything like that, and you'll notice that all the red lines, I have the extra strong CRC brake cleaner and it just about took that paint off, but you can see I lined all three pieces up with the paint. So this should be good to go. Yeah, oh yeah. Nice and lined up. So I've got the brake pedal in, I've got the whole clutch put together and torqued down. I've got the starter tightened up. I closed back up my access plate there because I don't need to bar anything over anymore. I got the fleece done. I mean, the list is getting really short, so it's time to stab the transmission in, which is probably gonna either happen tomorrow or the day after when my buddy brings his jacks over again. That's gonna be pretty involved, getting the T-case on there and the cross member, and then the new transmission isolator piece. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to take much video of that because I'm kind of on his schedule. So if you need to see a transmission install video, just there's probably 1,000 of them online. But after that, we'll start digging into the weeds with all this jank. I don't want to put the clutch hydraulics in right now because it has, on the transmission side, it has like a little collar where the slave cylinder is that is linked to the body. And if I hook it up to the clutch pedal, but it's not hooked up down here, and I accidentally actuate the clutch pedal with the hydraulics hooked up to the pedal, it can actually blow that out. So that's supposed to break. Here, I'll just get out and show you guys. And that's how he lost his bell housing bolts. Okay. Alright, so, and you guys may know this, I'm just doing it for the sake of being thorough. So if I hook this up to the firewall and then hook this up to the clutch pedal, then this piece that goes into the transmission, these two straps are supposed to break the first time you actuate the clutch. So this already needs to be seated in the throw out lever arm thingy. So if this is sitting free because the transmission's not in there and I hook all this up, then there's a good chance that I accidentally push it or touch it on the way in or anything like that. It'll blow those two things off, and then it could lose its prime because they come pre-bled with all the fluid in them and everything. So I'm gonna leave this till the very last, well, not very last, but after the transmission's in, then I'll deal with this, and then I can try to see if this clutch switch is just going to click right in and solve all my problems, or I don't know. It could turn out that 4th gens are the easiest to do a G56 swap in because they thought of everything. I don't even know if I went over this. So, two little things. The video's not done yet. First of all, I went through and you can see all this caked on dirt and everything. I mean, it was piled up to where you couldn't see any bolts, so I actually went through, just held my shop vac over this, and then cleaned everything up because I didn't want to put a scummy T-case behind my fancy new transmission. So, this. And I really want to do a shout out to PDP, was it Pure Diesel Performance, for working with me on this. If you guys are doing a G56 swap, my buddy sent me a picture of his pigtail, and it looks totally different. So this is what PDP sends you. I know the picture online when it says G56 reverse switch. Get out of here, bird. I'm doing stuff. Alright, so this is the connector that PDP sends you. The picture online... Bro, for real? Oh, no, it goes away. Okay. Take 7. Bird, go! It looks different online, but this is the connector you actually get in the mail. So, it's the right shape, and if you look up this part number online, it's actually, I think it's for the CCV. The issue with this is it's a 2-wire, it's the right shape, the D shape, but it has the connector piece, the click lock on the side. And if you look at the reverse switch on a G56, it has a little dingus here and another one right here. So the factory switch actually has clips on both of the short sides of the connector, and it clicks on like that. I was working, we probably sent, I'd say 15, 20 emails back and forth trying to get to the bottom of this, because I wasn't sure if maybe there was just like a listing error and PDP was sending the wrong one. But after me sending them a bunch of pictures and, you know, possible part numbers and a VIN and everything like that, he ended up getting a hold of, or they ended up getting a hold of Chrysler, and Chrysler said that this will work. They could not track down the double click connector for the reverse switch, at least in a pigtail. I think if you go on to any Mopar parts place and get the full manual harness, which is like 460 something bucks, it may come with the right connector. But I don't know, maybe this is just the first casualty in parts discontinuation because they don't offer the G56 anymore. So this will work. What the actual Chrysler guy said was to either clearance this by putting a little slit right here and on this side, so that it can go over those two little nubs, so that it'll slide all the way on, or take those little nubs off of the actual reverse switch. And then once, because if those nubs hit right on the edge here, it won't actually slide on enough for the little connectors to contact. And more fillers. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to file down the reverse switch, because you can always get a new reverse switch, but this connector, I guess, is the only one available. So this is the only unchanging part. So I'm going to file down my reverse switch, and then what I'm going to do is on the outside, the casing that slides into this outer diameter here, I'm just going to put maybe a little dab of epoxy, or I don't know, maybe just like a little spot of super glue, just so this can't fly off, because it has no ability to lock on there. So I'm going to put, and you can see these connectors are actually a little bit different between the two. So I got to figure out which ones actually click into the reverse switch. Then I'll take those wires, click them into here permanently, put a little bit of super glue or I don't know, RTV or something like that, and just kind of semi-permanently attach this to the reverse switch. And then there's such a long lead that I'll be able to adapt it into my harness wherever need be. It is a nice kit, and they really, I mean, those guys got back to me within hours of every question I had. So I wasn't trying to be that kind of customer, being like, sir, I need you to help me out, but they were extremely helpful, and they've definitely earned my loyalty as a customer. But other than this being the wrong one and essentially the only one available for the reverse switch, it's a good kit. It comes with, you know, shrink wrap and all that stuff, so I can do everything somewhat right. And then it comes with, I don't even know what these are. Maybe they're like little tags. so you can like label the wires or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what they're for, but they came with it. So yeah, that's the update. This is the PDP one will work. You have to either clearance it or file down the nubs off of your reverse switch. And don't get confused by the picture, because the picture shows something entirely different. Those are the last two updates. Everything else is just going to kind of go back together. This is far from the last video, because I still have to get this taken off, added to the new trans, get the transmission in, bolt up the cross member, see if there's any pitfalls with the isolator that I bought, and then of course all the wiring. And then once the wiring is done and I get my tuning, basically a full ECM reflash for a manual transmission file, then I have to work out all those kinks. And once everything works, then I'm actually going to go back through and actually tear the harness apart and really clean it down to I think it should be 2 wires that go to this. It should be, I believe it's 4 wires, possibly 6 wires, 4, 5, 6, 8 wires. So it'll have the 8 wires going to the T case, the 2 wires going to this, and then it'll run all the way back to the fuel water separator. And there's like a little box and all that stuff. I'm going to unplug all that, drive it around, see if it pulls any codes or defuels or does anything. And as I slowly whittle those around, I'm just going to start pulling connectors. My buddy's let me borrow a depinning tool, and so I'm going to take my factory automatic harness, get everything working, and then strip out every single unnecessary wire and relume it. And that should be the final step to having a really clean install. I'm not gonna, if I end up getting a brake pedal or the center console bits, I may do a video on that later down the road, as far as where to drill the holes or where to cut the carpet, things like that. But as of right now, I'm not gonna do the 2-piece center console or the plastics that go around the steering column, just because of, I mean, it's not gonna be something that makes me break down, and I've fully blown the budget. So I'm gonna wait a little bit on those parts. If anybody knows of some used ones that are super cheap, feel free to throw it in the comments section or anything like that. I do enjoy the comments. I actually haven't mentioned this, but my YouTube channel was never supposed to be a big deal. It was basically just sharing videos with family and things like that. So I haven't really said anything about it, but I really appreciate all the views and the encouragement I've been getting in there. And yeah, so I'm just gonna keep doing this. If I do any other stuff to the truck, like I may be doing some suspension, I'd like to try to do, instead of the school bus stack of springs out back, I'm gonna try to do a progressive kit, you know, just stuff like that. It'll be probably a little bit down the road, but this here is gonna be, this is my last truck, so I'm gonna just really make it my own over the years. And if you guys want to follow along, that'd be awesome. As soon as I'm done with this project, I'm going to be doing an Old Man Emu lift kit on a little 94 Toyota. So I will be posting that up. It'll be its own build series, probably a shorter one because it's just suspension. But yeah, so I'm gonna keep building, and then when I hit some milestones, I'll shoot some video and we'll see how it goes.